Well, hello from Wyoming. We made our trip back from Arizona this week, and it was a long road trip, a couple of days. You know, it's interesting. My body still aches. I think that when I was younger, we loved to drive across country and take all the trips, but things are different now. So the drive, and of course, we've been on that road 100 times, and so I think what we're going to try next time is a little bit of a different route, even if it takes another day, and make that an experience in itself instead of just rushing to get from one place to the next. But we are home in Wyoming, and we're really excited to be here. You know, I've been asked, why Wyoming in the winter and Arizona in the summer? And of course, I've shared before, I love being in the pool in Arizona, but we will go back in January or February for a few months, which is actually when the worst of the weather happens here in Wyoming. But for us, it's important to be around family at the holidays. And here we are, October, November, December, and we have a total of 6 grandkids. 5 of them live in Wyoming, and so I wanted to be here. And I think it was the right choice. You know, the other thing about Wyoming is it's just a totally different experience. So when I went out for my walk this morning along the canal road, we live about 10 miles outside of town, and so we get to enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet and no traffic except for the farm trucks that come by. And we really enjoy that. That is something that when we moved around all over the country for different jobs, we always lived in town, and we both dreamed of living out of town again. Now, I was raised in a town. Joe was raised in a very small town, I think like less than 300, and so he really loves the rural atmosphere. Of course, here we are at an age thinking, yeah, I don't think this is the age we're going to become farmers, and so it's an interesting thing to ponder what's next. But for right now, we're just grateful we get time in both locations to enjoy different climates to decide what is it that we really want. And I'm excited about whatever that might hold in the future. But no matter what the future holds, it's going to have family. And so as long as family is here in Wyoming, I just can't see us leaving, certainly not permanently. And so I really want to make it a point to be intentional to maintain those relationships with grandkids. You know, for anyone who's had kids, we know that they grow up so quickly. And I cannot believe my oldest grandson, who actually lives in outside of Las Vegas with his dad, is 15. He'll be 16 next summer. So, you know, time marches on, and those beautiful, wonderful children become young adults. And I think there's a phase, at least there was for me with my grandparents, where I think when I was really young, I loved being around them. And then there was a middle phase where it was like, yeah, I wanted to be around friends instead. And then when I got older, oh, what a blessing. I had my grandmother, who was only 36 when I was born. She had my dad really young, and he was only 21 when I was born. So I had her until I was 50. And so we had a really, really close relationship in those later years. And, you know, I want to have that also with my grandkids. You know, some of you have followed along with our little dog crew, and I wanted to give you an update. Our animals become our families, and so there's some real tender moments with them. Little Maggie, the little white pup, is very energetic. Sophie is the tripod. She was found by the rescuer out in the middle of nowhere with one leg limping, and when they took Sophie to the vet, they couldn't save the leg and they had to amputate, so she's a tripod. Well, that just happened in March of this year, and she is getting very strong. She can jump up on our chairs and our couches and play around, but she's a little more delicate than Maggie is. I think Maggie must have a little bit of terrier in her or something. And they're both pretty young. But Maggie was not aggressive against Sophie, but she definitely required more energy from all of us. And when I called the rescuer, because we get to keep an open relationship, I'll tell you, if you ever want to get a pup, I hope you'll rescue, and I hope you'll find a place that really tries to match the dog to the home. And anyway, when I was talking to the rescue mom and sharing some of my concerns about Maggie, and she didn't travel very well. She got sick quite a bit driving back and forth. Looking for some tips and tricks, she said, you know, Kim, I have another family that's looking for a female dog just like Maggie. Would you be interested in trying something different? And so we decided to go ahead and do that, and it turns out it's been the best fit ever. It's interesting, Sophie has kind of come out of her shell now that she's not being kind of pummeled by Maggie. And again, not in, you know, she wasn't mean to her. She just was very energetic and wanted to play. And Sophie would kind of go, you know, hide. Now Sophie just wants to be with us all the time. And so anyway, we've really enjoyed the transition, even though it was hard. I think it was the right choice for all. So now that I'm back in Wyoming, I do have a few, I'll say intentions, maybe not goals, but intentions for the remainder of 2025. I really want to spend some intentional time with Joe. We're going to take some day trips to go explore, assuming weather is good. And I really want to be intentional with my girls and my grandkids. And so maybe even grabbing one of the grandkids for a day or for a few hours and going to explore something. We've got a lot of beauty around us, and so I think that'll be a lot of fun. You know, it's taken me a while to settle in and actually call myself retired. And I'm grateful that I had the recommendation of a sabbatical season, because giving myself permission to just explore different things, I think, has been a godsend. I think he has talked to me in this time. I've been able to explore really more depth with God and gain more peace through understanding more of His Word and what He has planned for us. Now, I don't mean I have a magical plan. I just mean that there is peace even in the not knowing, in just being certain that I don't have to be the one to figure it all out. I can just be open. And so that's a good thing where Joe and I are both concerned, because we do have some decisions to make in the next few years about where do we want to land permanently for, I guess what I'd say is the remainder of our lives. But, you know, you never know. You always have to be ready to pivot and change. And I think that's okay. There's some of us who would like to be settled and just have a final decision, be one and done. You know, I don't think that's how life is. I think you make the best decision based on what you know at the time. You learn through it, grow through it, and then you look up one day and go, I think it's time for something different. So we're very blessed, and we know that more good times are on the way, and we know that bad times are on the way. That's just life. But we feel very grateful for this season, and couldn't be more at peace with it. You know, I don't have big plans for this season, but I do have meaningful ones. And I think that's good. I think that's what makes life worth living. I'm enjoying the simpler, slower pace, and I want to embrace all that that has to offer. So simpler and slower doesn't mean lazy. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It just means stopping long enough to think about what is it that you want next. And you know, while I love Arizona, it gives us great climate, beautiful summers, beautiful winters too. Wyoming is home, and it's home because this is where our family is. And so we're thrilled to be here. And we're ready for the holidays. What about you? Are you ready for the holidays? I do refuse to put any Christmas decorations up until Thanksgiving. So we've got some fall decorations that we'll put up, but now is the time to do the Christmas shopping for those 6 grandkids so that I'm not in a last minute frenzy. What about you? Are you done Christmas shopping? I think the stress that comes from it is actually, I want to get something that matters to them. And so who knows what that will be. But I hope that you're enjoying a beautiful weekend and getting ready for all this season has to offer. Until next time.